All right, let's take a look at what we have here for the Daily Grind Cafe. Before I start breaking this down, I want you to pause for a second in any moment of this presentation and really scan these details on your own. As a data analyst, your eyes should always go to the headers and the dates first to understand the where and the when of the story we're about to tell. This report covers a single day of operations on March 12th, 2026. Think of this as a diagnostic snapshot. We aren't just looking at numbers for the sake of it, we are looking for the heartbeat of the business to see where it's healthy and where it's struggling to catch its breath. Now, let's get into the actual results in the executive summary. We're looking at 103 transactions and a total revenue of $842. If you do the math, that's an average of about $8 per customer, which tells us people are likely pairing their coffee with a snack. The morning rush between 7 and 10 a.m. is clearly the engine of this shop, handling nearly half of the day's entire volume. Coffee is the undisputed king here, bringing in $180 alone. But here is the real lesson for you. Look at that 3 to 6 p.m. window, only 29 transactions. As an educator, I want you to see that as not a slow time, but as leaking money. You're paying for staff and lights, but the machines are sitting quiet. That is exactly where we need to get creative with promotions to bridge that gap. Now, let's peel back the curtain and look at the raw engine driving these numbers. Take a moment to scan the dataset structure and our product catalog. This is where the magic happens. We're working with a clean, transactional dataset that captures everything from the moment we open at 7 a.m. until we lock the doors at 6 p.m. Each row is a story of a single customer visit. You'll notice we are tracking 6 key variables, everything from the unique transaction ID to the final total revenue. Our menu is tight, with 8 distinct product categories ranging from a $3 espresso to a $6 sandwich. Understanding this structure is vital because if your data input is messy, your analysis will be worthless. We are looking at a total volume of 223 units sold across those 103 transactions, which gives us a great foundation for the metrics we're about to calculate. Let's move into the heavy lifting, the key performance metrics. This is where we turn data into actual business intelligence. We've already touched on the $842 in revenue, but look at that average transaction value of $8.17. As an analyst, that number tells you that your upselling is working. Most people aren't just grabbing a quick drink and leaving. Now, look at the revenue by product table. This is pure gold. Coffee, lattes, and cappuccinos are your big 3, making up over 57% of your total revenue. But here is the insight I want you to catch. While the coffee peaks in the morning, notice where the sandwiches and cakes hit their stride. They peak at midday. This tells us the customer profile actually shifts as the day goes on. We start with the caffeine seekers and move into lunch loungers. Interestingly, the muffin is the only item that peaks in the afternoon. If we want to fix that slow afternoon window we talked about earlier, the muffin might just be the starting point for a new combo deal. Now, we're getting into the visual storytelling, where we turn those spreadsheets into something we can actually see. Take a second to look at these bar charts. In data analysis, we compare value versus volume, and this is the perfect example. On the left, you see the revenue. Coffee, lattes, and cappuccinos are the heavy hitters, bringing in over 57% of the daily cash. But look at the chart on the right. Units sold. Coffee is dominating with 60 units, which is nearly double the next bestseller. What does this teach us? It shows high repeat demand. People come back for that $3 coffee because it's a low-friction purchase. The food items, like sandwiches and cakes, contribute about 35% of the revenue, but they sell far fewer units. This means food is your value play, higher prices, lower volume, while coffee is your volume play that keeps the foot traffic moving. Let's shift our focus to the when and how of the revenue distribution. Look at that donut chart. It visually confirms the cafe's identity as a drink-first business. The top 3 beverages take up more than half the circle. But the real gold is in the line graph to the right, transactions by hour of day. Notice the sharp spike right at 8 to 9 a.m. That's your peak stress test for the staff. Then see that secondary, softer peak at noon? That's your lunch crowd. But look at the trough or the low point right at 2 to 3 p.m. The line almost hits the floor before a tiny recovery later on. As an analyst, that V-shaped dip between your lunch and the late afternoon is your biggest challenge. You have two clear windows of demand, and everything in between is where we need to find ways to keep the momentum from dying out. We've looked at the charts and the raw data, but now I want you to focus on the why behind the numbers. Take a look at these operational insights. It's clear that beverages are the heartbeat of this business, generating over 57% of the revenue. But here's the lesson. That high demand means the cafe's profitability is trapped by its own speed. If the espresso machine goes down or the milk runs out during that 8 to 10 a.m. rush, which accounts for 35% of all daily sales, the revenue doesn't just slow down, it stops. We also see that food is underperforming. Sandwiches and cakes have the highest price tags, yet they only bring in about 17% of the total pot. This tells me we aren't upselling enough in the morning. Why isn't every coffee order being paired with a croissant? That is untapped potential sitting right on the counter. Moving from analysis to action, here's how we fix the gaps. First, we have to protect our big three beverages with aggressive inventory management before the doors even open. Second, we need to attack that afternoon slump. A coffee plus muffin bundle between 3 and 6 p.m. could turn those quiet hours into a second wind for the business. And finally, we have to be smarter with our people. We need maximum staffing during the morning and midday peaks, but we should scale back during that 2 p.m. trough. By redistributing those labor hours to the busy windows, we improve service speed where it actually matters and stop wasting money when the shop is empty. To wrap this all up, the Daily Grind Cafe is a strong, beverage-led business, but it's currently too dependent on a few hours of the morning to carry the whole day. We have $842 in the bank for March 12th, which is a solid win. However, the path to $1,000 a day is not by working harder in the morning, it's by capturing the food upsell we're missing and fixing the afternoon dead zone. If we protect our supply chain for coffee and get creative with our slow hours, we turn a good day into a great business. Great job staying focused through this data. Now let's take these lessons and put them into practice. As we close this report, remember that a truly successful business doesn't just survive its peaks, it masters its valleys. We have a solid foundation here, a loyal morning crowd, and a product people clearly love. The challenge I'm leaving you with is to look at those gaps in the line graph not as failures, but as the blueprint for our future growth. We have the data, we have the strategy, and we have the vision. Now it's about execution. Let's take these insights and turn them into the momentum that carries this business to the next level. That is how you move from being a manager to being a true leader in this industry. Bye-bye.